is the Rebel Author Podcast, where we talk about books, business, and occasionally bad words. First to last week's question episode, which was the solo show, and some comments. Jen said, as a long-time listener to your podcast, following your journey as a writer and entrepreneur with all the pivots and lessons shared over the years, I can honestly say, without meaning to sound schmaltzy or overly familiar, I am so pleased for you and smiling away here whilst making my tea to hear of your successes. They are 100% earned and inspiring. Thank you. That actually means more to me than you could know. Really appreciate the transparency, and I'm thrilled for you. Only 25% through this episode at the minute, so if there are any sharp turns ahead, I'm not there yet. So in the interim, congratulations, and thanks for all the honesty so far. Amazing. So Joanna said, thanks for sharing in so much detail. It's great to see how much your business has shifted as well as grown. It's evidence that pivoting and also taking advantage of opportunities as they arise is possible, and that you can do it again and again over time, as we all have. Love that. Gigi says, thank you so much for your honesty and vulnerability during this episode. It really meant a lot to me as someone still at the beginning of their self-publishing journey. Hearing about the struggles and difficulties you've overcome to reach where you have today has helped give me strength as I face my own struggles and difficulties. Thank you. Well, thank you all so much, because I'll be honest, I was pretty nervous about sharing that episode. I knew that it wouldn't go down well with some people, and I was hoping that it would go down really well with others, and there has been an overwhelmingly large majority of positive feedback, so I'm really glad that you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for the support and for listening for so long. Who can believe that we are here nearly 5 years down the line? So thank you. Okay, oh wow, I just scrolled down and saw a whole bunch more comments. So thank you to Reese, to JR Pearson, Nelson, Pierce Nelson, Heather Button, Matt Goodall, Chris Holcomb, and Cassie Newell, who all also commented. Thank you so much for all of those lovely comments and thoughts. I think that might possibly be the most comments we've had on an episode for a really long time. So as I record this, it is Thursday the 11th of July, but when this airs, it's going to be Wednesday the 17th of July, which is my book launch day for House of Crimson Kisses, the second book in my Sapphic vampire romance trilogy. And this book has blown everything out of the water. I can honestly say I did not expect for it to do as well as it has, and this is me saying that a week before it launches. So essentially last week I was approaching 1,000 pre-orders in ebook on Amazon, and so I posted on social media that I was really quite desperate to get over the 1,000 marker, because holy fuck, 4 figures in units of pre-orders in ebook alone on one store is pretty fucking mental, to be perfectly honest. I'll be completely transparent. I had 290 pre-orders, ebook pre-orders on Amazon for book 1 of that, which was, really good. And I was really fucking pleased with that. So to say now, to be sat here saying I'm well in excess of 1,000 is just mind-boggling to me. I don't quite understand what happened. But it did. I'm really pleased, and I'm very excited for Wednesday. So yes, and obviously so one of the things that I did differently, and with a bit of a lesson for me and maybe for you guys, is this time I ran all of the physical pre-orders through my Shopify store, and that I was amazed at how many. I think I probably had over 300 at this point, well in excess of 300 physical pre-orders on my store. And bear in mind that I earn double what I earn from like an Amazon paperback sale. So it has been a very, very, very successful book launch, and I'm not even at book launch day. So yeah, I just thought that might be helpful for you guys to consider doing a physical pre-order on your Shopify. I usually do them through Ingram Spark, but this time, I decided to go through Shopify. And one of the things that I did to encourage that was I released the physical pre-orders early on my store. Now, we did have a problem with hardbacks, so they are a little bit later, but I am releasing the physical books. They have already been released. All the paperbacks are out and shipped, and the hardbacks are shipping in the next day or two. And then the ebooks are being delivered on the 13th. So I did that because I am very well aware that nothing is forever, including TikTok. And obviously a lot of the success that I have seen has been because of TikTok. So I want to be able to control as much of my audience as possible. And in order to be able to do that and to get people to pay more for shipping, I have had to encourage them to come over to my store. So the way to do that is I can't be quicker than Amazon, but I can be earlier, right? So if I can't beat them, find a different way to win. So if I can't beat shipping, then just print earlier, and that was kind of my thinking. And then obviously that is a big reward for people who want to read the book early, is to be able to do that. That does mean slightly longer lead times, needing the book finished a bit earlier, which has caused all number of problems for me, but that is basically my goal in the next year, is to be ahead of everything. Now the consequence of that is it means a slightly slower pivot if the market shifts, but I think I'm still quick enough as an indie that I can pivot if I need to. So yeah, I don't know if these lessons are going to be useful for you guys, if this is the kind of stuff that you want, but I feel like, this is something that is top of my mind. It's what I've learned, so I'm trying to share these things. So if you are interested in Sapphic vampires, then please do go and check it out. House of Crimson Kisses by my alter ego Ruby Rowe, and then in personal news and updates, then we are just over a week away from going to New Zealand, and I stopped working a week ago. I can't remember if when I recorded the last podcast I had made that decision. I have a feeling I was probably still trying to finish the book. Basically got to the point where that was no longer possible, and so I admittedly had a bit of a tantrum, threw my toys out of the pram, and then picked myself back up again and decided to take the time to get on top of everything. The outsourcing's been quite difficult. I have to let go of a lot of things, and we all know some of us have control problems. So I have been, pushing myself to let go, be okay with other people having control of things, and then making sure that my systems and processes are properly in place. Then it has been astonishing how much I've had to shut down in the business, not close or stop things, but just, admin that had piled up that I'd not dealt with. And also so much fucking life admin to get yourselves and your family out of the country for a month. Christ alive. I have honestly been astonished at how many things have filled my plate and filled my days that aren't work. I'm like, how was I expecting myself to get all of this done before we go? So yeah, it's been a lot, but we are, I think, 9 days away from leaving today, and we're almost there. I don't think I'm going to get a huge amount of downtime before we go. I was hoping I might be able to take a day off to read, or I don't know, get some rest, that weird, strange word that I struggle with. The funny thing is, and I hate that this is true, but the minute I stopped working, I took a load of intangible but very real pressure off of my brain. And the minute I did that, ideas started flowing. So I've already had ideas for my next book, and it's so fucking frustrating because I genuinely am so happy working. I fucking love my job. I love all of you guys. I love creating content. I love podcasting. I love writing books. And I find it frustrating that my physical puny skin sack cannot keep up with the rate at which my brain wants to go. And even the fact that my brain can't keep up with my brain because apparently my brain needs time off. It's so boring. I don't want time off. Why can't I just keep up with myself? Anyway, you guys are probably laughing your heads off at me, but genuinely that is what runs through my head, is just this deep-seated frustration that I can't run as fast as I want to. Anywho, I am hoping that this break will mean I will come back and have a shit ton of energy, ideas, and new systems and structures in place. I want to be able to go to the gym multiple times a week, and I'd gotten to the point where I'd more or less stopped doing that, which is not good for my hashtag activator everybody drink or competition, to be perfectly honest, which likes to be in a state of physical fitness as well. Thing to tell you, I have taken the decision to not take my podcasting mic with me to New Zealand. I really need a full comprehensive break. The only thing that I will do whilst I'm away is TikTok. I have somebody managing my Instagram whilst I'm away, my inbox whilst I'm away, and pretty much everything, so that I can truly have a break, because apparently I need one. So yes, there will be two or three. I can't quite work out the math, but it will either be 2 or 3 episodes where I will have much smaller intro, and I will record all of those next week. So I hope that's okay. I will still do the Rebel of the Week and little bits, but there won't be any intros from me. If you would like to follow my trip and all the adventures that we go on, then I will be posting, well, I might not, but my social media manager will be posting up everything I send to them whilst we're away, so you can follow. And I will do stories, I will post up some live stuff whilst we're away, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy the fuckery and footage from New Zealand. So anyway, that's my life story. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's move on. A Rebel of the Week this week is LM Dodds. LM says, in 2017, I was living in California with my husband and our 2 young boys. I was working a lot at a very stressful job to afford a very expensive house. Yes, it was walking distance to the beach, which is why most people thought I was crazy for doing what I did. I was pretty sure I didn't want to do the job I was doing, but didn't know what I wanted to do instead. No matter what I considered, though, it always came down to money. I couldn't afford to change my job because we needed my salary to afford the house and childcare, etc. So I decided the best thing to do was to move somewhere we could live on one salary to give me the freedom to try something new. I saw Richmond, Virginia listed in some magazines, touting it as one of the best places to move for young families. In early 2017, my husband and I went to visit Richmond for the weekend. Neither of us had ever been. I spent the entire weekend very ill, so I'm not sure it wasn't the fever talking when we signed a lease, and a few months later sold our house, packed up our lives, kids and dog, and drove across the country to live someplace we'd only ever been for 48 hours. Holy shit. It has been over 7 years and it was the best decision. We love it here. Yes, even the heat is worth it when it gives you fireflies and river tubing. I found a job that I not only enjoy but allows me to write, and I've now written 2 books. The latest, All the Forgotten Things, was released on July the 1st, and I have a 3rd coming out in December. Thank you so much for being the voice of encouragement in my head and the head of so many listeners. Thank you for the lovely comments. I absolutely love that. I love that you literally had only visited for like 48 hours and thought, fuck it, we're going. That's the best fucking YOLO ever. Amazing rebellion. If you would like to be a Rebel of the Week, please do send in your story. It can be any kind of rebellion, something big, something small, or something in between. And we are going to need those rebel stories whilst I'm away, so please do send them in. You can email your story to Becca over on rebelauthorpodcast@gmail.com. No new patrons this week, but a big, enormous, huge thank you to all of my existing patrons. If you would like to support the show and get early access to all of the episodes, as well as bonus content like access to the Slack community, access to our Poison and Prose community, Q&A, kind of writing sprints, video, live Zoom chats together, you can. And also the next masterclass, which I'm teaching, is on sex scenes, sweet and spicy. And you can do that all from as little as $2 a month by visiting patreon.com/Sasha Black. This episode is sponsored by Kobo Writing Life, Kobo's free, fast and easy self-publishing platform. KWL was built by authors for authors, and their team of dedicated book lovers is always working hard to help you reach new readers around the world. Kobo's author-first approach is one of the reasons they developed a promotions tool. This is an easy and affordable way for you to market your book directly to Kobo readers. They offer lots of promotions that don't require you to drop your price, because they know when you're publishing wide, it can be a pain to coordinate pricing across multiple retailers. Any promotions listed as a % off, e.g. 40% VIP sale, mean you don't have to change your price, as the discount will be provided by promo code at checkout. If that sounds good to you, keep an eye out for % off promotions and buy more, save more sales, where you can submit your titles and leave the rest to Kobo. And if you're taking part in a promotion, be sure to tell your readers about it. The promotions tool is updated on a weekly basis, so make sure you're taking a regular look to see what's on offer and if there's an opportunity that matches your books and marketing plans. If you're a KWL author and don't yet yet have access to the promotions tool, email the team on writinglife@kobo.com and they'll enable this for you. If you want to learn more about KWL, check out the Kobo Writing Life podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, and find them on social. You can create your free account today at kobo.com/writinglife. Hello and welcome to the Rebel Author podcast. Today I'm joined by Lara Ferrari. Lara is an Instagram marketing specialist who's helped over 100 aspiring authors grow an engaged community of readers online and inspired them to have fun doing it. After a passion for marketing landed her a career in copywriting and a love of books led to developmental editing, Lara eventually managed to combine both areas of expertise to find her true purpose. After successfully using Instagram to build her own business, she now channels all her energy into helping authors and aspiring authors charm the social media algorithms so you can share your stories with the readers who will love them most. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Sasha. Wow, that was quite something to hear it read by somebody else.
It's always a little odd when somebody else introduces you, isn't it?
It's very strange, yes.
So before we dive into sort of the questions, what do you read? Because it says you did developmental editing. So, and you've sort of told me off air that you're not an author. So where are your literary passions? Tell me where you like to read first.
I would say my first love is fantasy. So I read widely. I don't really think there's a genre that I would rule out reading, but I definitely kind of found my love of books as a child and then sort of growing up through fantasy. And definitely when I first started editing, that was kind of my focus. It was mainly fantasy, YA fantasy, some adult fantasy that came my way. I even actually created a world building course. I did that for a few years. So, for fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian authors, I could geek out about world building for hours and hours. So that was pretty fun.
And you've never wanted to write a book?
Oh gosh, yes, of course I've wanted to write a book.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this though, it's really hard.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. No, I don't think a lot of people realize this. I don't know if your listeners know this, but it's hard to write a book.
It really is.
It is, but it's not just that, right? There's so much time and effort, emotion that goes into writing a book. And then at the end of it, you then have to market that book. Like you have to sell it as well. Like that, it doesn't seem fair. It's too much. It's too much for one person to do. Well, I'm in awe of anyone who does it, but obviously that's why I'm here to kind of help with that.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about you. Would you like to tell everyone a little bit more about your journey? Obviously, we've had the highlights, but tell me how you got to where you are today.
Well, gosh, I think it was actually because I wanted to write a book. I actually took a year out after university to go and live with my mum in Cape Town for a year. She was like, come and write your book. She was like, I want to give you that. She was super, super supportive. She was amazing.
Are you South African? I wondered where the accent was from.
I'm originally from Zimbabwe.
Okay.
But we left when I was quite young, moved around, went to boarding school in England. So I think I lost most of my accent, but yeah, sometimes people can still pick it up. Kind of moved around the world a bit. But yeah, I spent this year with my mum in Cape Town writing this book. I think she thought it would all be done, published. I'd be super successful. I could pay for her retirement by the end of it. And I think when she realized that probably wasn't going to happen that way, she started like sliding me job applications like across the breakfast table. And I remember seeing this one once for a copywriter, and I didn't know what a copywriter was, but I was like, oh, it has writing in it. Like that sounds good. And then I read the description. I'm like, oh no, that doesn't sound good at all. I was like, that's marketing. Like they wanted me to write brochures and like boring things. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And then a year later, I was a copywriter. I was like, oh, this is the only job that will take me, that will let me work with words in some way. But I actually realized that I loved it, that I did get to use words and I was good at it. And I learned, the marketing side of it was actually pretty cool and pretty interesting, especially when I started working with a digital marketing team on content marketing. And then it was like, oh, social media and email marketing and, kind of all of this and kind of tying this together and creating these cool experiences for people online. And so that was a cool job, but I still missed writing and the kind of the bookish side of things. So that's when I joined Instagram, and I found I joined Instagram, but I found Bookstagram, and I started connecting with all of these readers and all of these writers. And a few of them, I became really good friends with them. Like I'm still maybe better friends with some of these people that I've never actually met in real life than people who are in my life like all the time. Probably shouldn't say that, but it's true. And they started to send me like little snippets of things that they'd written. And then I would send them back feedback. And I realize now I'm not sure they actually asked me for feedback, but I gave it to them anyway. And they really liked it. And so they were like, oh, can I send you more? So I was like, yeah, of course. It was just this really fun kind of creative escape for me after work. And yeah, they kind of started doing this more and more. And I was like, I really enjoy doing this. And I think I'm good at it. I think I'm helping them. So I really spent a lot of time kind of reading as much as I could, studying as much as I could about, editing and story structure and all of that kind of technical stuff. And after a couple of years, my husband was like, you should really be charging for this. You spend all your time doing this. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. He's like, I think you could. So I eventually kind of transitioned out of my day job in marketing. And that's when I became an editor. But again, to kind of skip forward a little bit, I realized, as I kind of talked about a bit at the beginning, that so many of these authors were coming to me with these amazing manuscripts. And I think that they thought that the hard part was all behind them. And, they, like I said, they put so much work into it, and they have this beautiful manuscript at the end. And it's kind of like, oh, it's all done. And I'm like, oh, no, not really. Not if you want it to go out into the world and reach more readers who are actually going to love it and read it. So, and that was kind of a harsh reality, I think, for a lot of them, to realize that I don't really know how to do that. And I had obviously picked up all of these skills and this knowledge from working in marketing, but then also, like I said, starting my own businesses, marketing those, attracting, editing clients. And I was like, I think I could help with this. And I felt like I could help maybe more writers that way than just working on kind of the individual manuscripts. So that's when I started Lemon Friday. And it's all about helping authors build their audience online, find the right readers, connect with those readers, and actually, put their books out into the world to, fanfare, launch it to excitement and not just crickets.
So do you still edit, or are you only doing the marketing now?
At the moment, I only do, the marketing. I create like online marketing kits for authors, templates, and I also do some one-to-one coaching.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about Instagram. And maybe do you TikTok as well, or are you Instagram only?
I actually don't TikTok. I am an Instagram purist.
Oh, okay,
No.
cool. So do you want to explain briefly why you are a Instagram purist? Why do you love it so much? Why should authors be using Instagram? And maybe why you think it's perhaps better than TikTok still?
Oh gosh, I don't want to offend anyone. Like I said, I'm not a TikTok expert, so I wouldn't necessarily say why I think it's better, but I do always recommend to authors that it's at least when you're starting to find where your readers are, find where your readers are hanging out, and then really commit to that platform. To kind of go all in with one. Because I think when you start and you try to do YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter or X and Thread, it can just be so overwhelming. So I think rather get really clear on one platform, really kind of focus on that, go all in on that. And then when you're comfortable with that, you can then kind of branch out. And my next step, the way that I help authors is once they're comfortable on Instagram, then we branch into email marketing and building their list that way and actually moving it onto a platform that they own, that they have control over, that they don't have to, fight with an algorithm for. So that's just those are my areas of, specialism that I really, I get, I understand, I love, I've seen it work. And so at the moment, that's what I help authors with. But in terms of why I love Instagram for authors, I think because it is a visual platform. It's always been a visual platform. And although writers are obviously all about the words, I think that that really goes hand in hand when you are trying to, you know, build excitement and intrigue and interest in your book. When you can kind of combine visual elements with the words, it's really, really powerful. And there's such an engaged book community on Instagram. That's what I mean about finding out where your audience is. And for so many writers, that just is Instagram, because Bookstagram was a thing long before TikTok, and it's really, really well established. And there are just so many readers there waiting to discover your book.
So what are like the key important bits of Instagram that we should be paying attention to? Obviously, there's like so many different things like stories and reels and posts and all of the rest of it. Like, where should we be spending our attention, and why?
That is a great question. There's no one right answer to that. I think it's very much can be a case of trial and error, not trial and error, more experimentation to figure out what you enjoy creating and what your readers are responding to well. But I think two formats that are working really well at the moment are stories, because they are very personal. You can be a lot more relaxed with them. They disappear after 24 hours. They don't have to be beautifully put together. You can be a lot more casual about it. And then there are reels. And that is because Instagram has been for a while now, ever since TikTok essentially took off. They've been kind of playing catch up, but they are trying to compete. So they are pushing reels hard. So at the moment, reels are the best way to get seen by more people, to get in front of new readers and attract them to your account. So at the moment, that's kind of where my focus is helping authors create reels in ways that are easy and quick and feel comfortable, because I know that hasn't always been the case.
Yeah, and I will, just for listeners, because obviously podcasts are like voodoo time magic, we are recording this in the middle of June 2024. So this is accurate as to the middle of June 2024. And I just want to say I completely agree as well. Like, I absolutely love stories because I can just say whatever I want. And it's like the quick kind of, shower thoughts kind of thing. And reels, I am very, very lazy. I just cross post from TikTok, although I do remove the watermark. And I have to say that I am getting a lot of traction on Instagram because of reels. Like, my follower count has jumped quite rapidly even in the last week, just from one reel that has gained more views than pretty much anything else I've posted. But I tried reels before, I would say probably 6 months ago, and wasn't getting very much traction. But now they're getting thousands of views. Almost every single one is getting thousands of views, which I find really, really interesting. It's almost like that blue waters of the very early bit of TikTok, I think. But we're throwing lots of words out and people might not really know the difference between a story and a reel. So what is a reel? What sort of content should authors be putting onto reels? Are there special types of content that work? Is there a special type of video that they should be doing? Just talk to me about, I guess, that kind of overarching strategy with a reel.
Sure. So reels essentially are a way to share video content on Instagram. So full screen, vertical videos, short form videos as well. So anywhere from, a few seconds to a minute and a half. But like I said, they're made to be watched on phones. You can upload your own video to reels, or you can shoot a reel in the Instagram app. You can crop and trim your videos. You can splice clips together. You can add text. You can add music. You can add voiceovers. You can keep it super, super simple, or you can get really fancy, with clever editing and special effects. There are so many different kinds of reels you can make, and it really just depends on your style. It depends what you're comfortable with, what you enjoy, what your audience enjoys. And let's be honest, just how much time you have.
Okay, and what about like the technical elements. So obviously you've spoken about the sort of a few seconds to 90 seconds, but what about like frequency that they should post? Are there times of day? Do we need captions? Are the captions SEO? Do we need hashtags? Like those kind of technical elements and aspects.
Sure. Yeah. So as for how often you should post, I think this goes for any social media, any kind of marketing, really. It's as often as possible. And the key word there, before you freak out, it's possible, whatever is possible for you. So obviously it'd be great to post every day. But if that's too much for you, if you're going to do that for like 2 weeks maybe, and then get totally burned out, so you then just disappear for 2 months, that's not really very helpful. So it's much better to find a schedule, a consistent schedule that is manageable for you, that you can stick to, that you can maintain. So if that's, twice a week and you're going to be able to keep that up, that's great. As for the length of the reels themselves, now, as you said, Sasha, like we're recording this at a particular time, things do change on social media. So this might change, but right now, I am seeing writers doing really well with really short reels. So that might be good news to hear. So I'm talking literally like between like 4 and 10-second reels. What else did you ask about hashtags?
And like captions as well.
Captions, I would say generally keep them a bit shorter than you would do on a normal post. People scrolling through reels tend to watch rather than tap into the captions and then read through. So I would definitely put a caption with your reel. You can expand on it a little bit, give a little bit more context, ask a question, things like that, but keep them short. And actually, my biggest piece of advice, and I'm probably going to say that a lot, there's probably going to be lots of biggest pieces of advice, would be to put the main text in the reel itself, like on the screen itself, because so many people just don't tap into captions. And I heard that from writers as a real frustration early on with reels. One of the reasons they hated reels so much is that they found that they weren't getting that engagement from readers because nobody was reading their captions. I'm like, well, there's a way around that. Like, put your caption in the reel itself. So put the text on screen. So that's a way to get around it. Make sure that there's a hook on screen to, get their attention. If you want them to take action, you want them to engage, you want them to leave a comment or follow you. As my mom always says, like, if you don't ask, you don't get. So be very, very clear about what action you want them to take and put that on the screen as well so that they don't miss it. You can put it in the caption as well, but put it in both places, just kind of double your chances.
So, I mean, okay, so we know we need to record something. It needs to be short, and we probably need to put some text on the video as well. But what are we recording? Like, I finished a book. Now what do I do? How do I approach that video marketing element? How do I know what to pull out? Do I pull stuff out from the book? Am I sharing quotes? What is it that I do to start promoting with Reels?
There are so many different kinds of reels that you can make. And it really depends on you as an author. It depends on your personality. It depends on what you enjoy creating, what your readers enjoy. So there isn't this one way to do it. And I think that should be like reassuring, because I think when Reels first came out, and again, it was kind of like you said, it kind of came from TikTok. And so we were seeing sort of TikTok style videos, and it was during lockdown, right? So you had all of these people kind of with all this time on their hands to create content. And there was a lot of like dancing reels, like choreographed dancing or like little skits or really fancy editing, a lot of, pointing at text or lip syncing, like really entertaining stuff. I really enjoy watching it. But when it comes to making that, it's really time intensive, either in terms of learning how to do it or the time it takes to film or the time it takes to edit. And I think it freaked out a lot of writers. One, because maybe they're just like, I'm an introvert. I don't want to be dancing on screen. That's just not me at all. It feels really awkward. Or it's like, I don't even have the time to learn how to do all of this stuff, let alone to actually do it. So I am seeing a few trends amongst reels for writers at the moment, which I think is going to come as really good news. I think that the biggest piece of advice that I could give you is to keep things simple. And I mean, like really simple. Like I've seen people do really, really well with just a photo or a stock video and then a snippet of their book on top with some, evocative music. Like that simple. I also think that B-roll is a really, really great tool to have in your tool belt when it comes to creating reels. And I don't know, do you know what B-roll is?
I don't.
So B-roll is basically like stock footage that you can create for yourself. It's any footage that you have saved that wasn't created for any specific reel. So you're not talking to camera or anything like that. You're not lip syncing to like any specific audio. It's just sort of a generic shot that you can use in the background of any reel to add some visual interest that still feels, personal, but you don't have to be the main focus. And I love using B-roll to create content for a number of reasons. One, it's really easy to film. Like you can literally just whip out your phone or, prop it up somewhere, just hit record on whatever you would normally be doing anyway. So for writers, that could be, typing at your keyboard or scribbling in a notepad. You could be tidying your desk, organizing your bookshelves, drinking coffee, staring off into space, whatever, your typical writing session might look like. It could also just be for everyday things like folding laundry, going for a walk, playing with your dog, baking a cake, literally anything. I have filmed myself with a head full of foils at the hairdresser before. So it's really easy to film. Secondly, it's really quick to film. You only need a few seconds, like literally anywhere between 10 to 20 seconds. Or you can just keep it recording and then choose, 10-second segments from it afterwards and get multiple shots. But you don't have to do like take after take to get it right. There's nothing complicated involved. Thirdly, B-roll is really great for anybody who feels kind of awkward about showing their face or being on camera, which I think is a lot of writers. But with B-roll, you can be in the shot, but you don't have to be like front and center. In fact, I actually recommend that you're not, so that you can leave space to add text afterwards. You can just sort of be a bit further back and a bit off to the side. You also don't need to be looking directly into the camera. Like I said, you can just be getting on with your writing. You don't even have to show your face at all. You could do like close-ups of your hands, typing on your keyboard or flipping through a book, or you could film yourself from behind, just like reorganizing your shelves or sitting, staring out at a nice view, anything like that. And then finally, I love B-roll because you can reuse it. So in terms of, making content creation easy, because it's not specific, because it's only meant to be in the background, not the focal point, you can use the same B-roll shot, maybe like again in a few months or in a few weeks, just in a different reel with different text. So in terms of like, if we use that as the foundation, you can share, like I said, snippets of your book. What I think also works really well is to talk about a scene in your book. So you don't necessarily need to sort of share it word for word, but you can sort of say like, imagine, and then kind of lay out a scenario that is happening. Choose something really juicy or really kind of high stakes, tension filled scene and just sort of describe what happens in that scene. And then you can ask a question like, what would you do? Or what do you think is going to happen next? Or if you have, a free sample to give away, you can then direct them to your email list or something like that to get, the whole chapter. Or if your book is for sale, you can then direct them to where they can read the whole thing, that sort of thing. You can also just start conversations. So what's been really working well for me recently is just posing a question on a reel that's really, really easy to answer. So I've said like, you can only choose one. And then I've given like 4 options of things like my audience is obviously writers. So I chose 4 things that I knew that writers would love, like, would you rather be able to write a book in lightning speed, or would you rather be able to write a perfect first draft, no editing necessary? Or would you rather be able to attract your ideal audience to you with absolutely no effort, that sort of thing. And it got so many responses. So you could do something similar for readers, though. Ask them, I don't know, what their favorite place to read is, what their favorite library would look like, what their favorite genres would be, what kind of love interests would they prefer to read about. When you make it really, really simple for people to engage, like you literally give them options and tell them how to respond, those sort of things get a lot of engagement and they can be a lot of fun. And then you can follow up in the comments and you can have conversations. And that's really cool. That's just a really, really, really simple thing to do.
I love that. There's tons of ideas in that. So, okay, there's lots of ideas, but what about the mistakes that people make? What kind of errors or newbie kind of, errors are you seeing people making when they approach video marketing?
I think not having a hook. That's really, really key. I think I see a lot of people, as I said, putting up a really pretty video and then writing something really interesting in the caption, but there's no text on screen to kind of hook me in, to give me a clue as to what this reel is about, why it's for me, why I should be interested. There's nothing to kind of pique my curiosity in some way. So I think having a hook on screen is really, really key. And leaving space for that. So when you are filming, just kind of be aware of where you think you might want to put your text. So like I said, don't necessarily, if it's yourself, don't necessarily be front and center. Just kind of think about standing slightly off to the side so that you have some blank space for text to appear. So because you want to make sure that text, it's there, it's catchy, but it's legible. Like people need to actually be able to read it. And I think that's a big mistake that I see a lot. I kind of like, I'm squinting at the text. It's either tiny or it's kind of hidden by the background. I can't really, the colors, there's not enough contrast. So
I think that's also important for accessibility as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally true. Yeah. So making sure that you have eye-catching text that is easy for everybody to read. And then, like I said, including that call to action on the reel itself. And that's, I guess it's kind of like a marketing term, right? But that's that whole invite. It's if you want them to take any action, whether that's, like I said, leave a comment, follow you, send you a DM, drop a like, save it, whatever you want them to do, spell it out, invite them to do it, tell them how to do it. Don't expect that they're just going to know what you want and do it anyway. Like sometimes people just need a little bit of a nudge to be like, oh yeah, I chose my favorite thing from that quiz that you just put up on screen. But I wasn't going to tell you. I was just thinking it in my head. But now that since you've asked, I'm now going to leave a comment and I'm going to, share my answer, that sort of thing.
Okay, another thing that you talk about is an audio bank. So, what is that? Why do we need it? How do we build one? And why is it going to help us?
So, when you create a reel, you can add audio to it. Now, that could be music, it could be a trending sound, it could be some like dialogue from a TV show. It's just the sound behind your reel. Now, choosing audio, it tends to be one of those things that should be like quick and easy because, when it comes to it, all you have to do is tap on the audio you want, it applies it, nice and simple. But finding the right audio, it often ends up taking way too much time. When you have made your reel, you just want to post it, or you're trying to find a specific sound for a specific type of reel. So what I do is I give myself a certain amount of time every week to just scroll through reels. Because let's be real, like I'm going to do that anyway. So I set myself like a time, usually in the evening when my brain like really isn't up to doing much else anyway. And I just scroll through reels. And whenever I come across a reel that is using a sound that I like, or a sound that's like inspired me, that's given me an idea for something, I just save it. Then the next time I'm making a reel, when I go to choose an audio for it, all I have to do is tap on saved, and then I can see that audio as well as all the other audio that I've ever saved. And I can just choose from there. That's what I call having an audio bank. So it's ready to go. It's just a list of audio that you already know that you like, that you already know that you want to use. You don't have to go and search for it.
So on TikTok, audio is a really big, important part. And if you pick trending sounds, you are more likely to increase your chance of going viral. Is that the same for Instagram, or is it much more like mood aesthetic in terms of like mood sound? Like, are there trending sounds on Instagram? Do we need to be paying attention to what's popular? Or is it better for us just to pick a sound that reflects the type of content in the video?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are trending audios on Instagram for sure, and that can kind of help you get a bit of a boost. It's not necessarily going to get you in front of the right audience. So I see this a lot with reels that do go viral. You know, I've had a reel that got over 1 million views, but I got almost 0 new followers from that because it was being pushed out to people who I think maybe, you know, connected with the audio, but were really not interested in what I had to say at all. They weren't authors. They didn't care about author marketing. So they weren't really my people. So yeah, you can definitely look at what's trending, and there is a chance that, you know, if you get pushed out to more people, then those people will be readers and they will find you that way. So if you tap on any audio on Instagram, at the bottom of a reel, you'll see what audio they used. And if you tap on that, it will bring up that page where you can see all of the other reels that have used that audio. And at the top, you'll see a little arrow. And if you tap on that, you can see what's currently trending. And I actually created a Reels kit where it's like 45 Reels templates for authors. And it talks you through step by step exactly how to make these 45 different reels. And at the end of each one, I give audio suggestions. And I often say that if you happen to find a trending audio that matches this particular vibe that you're going for in this reel, then yeah, by all means, go for it, use it. If you're like, oh, that's perfect, that's the exact kind of emotion that I want to convey, or that lyric ties in really well, then yeah, check it, go for it. But if not, if you're like, this is not my style at all, I don't think that my readers are really going to connect with this, it doesn't reflect the emotion behind the message or the scene that I'm sharing, then I really, really would not go for that. Absolutely just go back to your audio bank, choose something that you've already identified that you know will connect on the right emotional level with your readers, and use that instead.
Okay, well, so another thing that you've mentioned before is stock imagery and stock videos. Where do we get that from? How do we find stock stuff? How do we know that we're not going to incur any license issues? And how do we kind of incorporate it into our reels?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are a bunch of stock image sites online. Ones that I've used are Pexels, Unsplash. They're really good. I think they even have some stock video options, and they all have free options. So they're a really good place to start. You can literally just search, in the search bar for topics, you'll see what comes up. They often do have a credit that is optional that you can share to the photographer, but they are free to use. You can use them on social media. They then also you can upgrade if you want to the paid version and have access to more of their library. But even Canva I don't know if many of your authors would be using Canva right now, but it's such a great resource when it comes to creating marketing materials for authors. They have so many cool templates that just make it really, really easy. They have photos and videos in Canva itself that I think draws from sites like Pexels and Unsplash. So you can search just in there while you're creating your cover art for your reel or a graphic for a post or anything like that. So
Yeah, I would say that those sites are better if you are not writing any kind of diversity, though. That's the only thing that I
sure.
would say. So, unfortunately for me, a lot of those sites don't really work because there just isn't LGBT content or videos on there. It's actually so I
Mm.
funny enough was talking about this the other day, how there's very little stock imagery that we can use, or we can use it, but it's because it's a single woman on a thing, not two women.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure, other people writing other diverse types of characters will probably suffer the same problem. But like you said, if they have B-roll stuff, it might be okay on there to kind of use, generic coffee shop type stuff or, what I mean. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think
okay.
to find like a motif or something that comes up in your book. So I was working with somebody recently who was writing like a pirate adventure, and she's finding it difficult to find specifically like photos of pirates, but we could find a lot of videos of a beach, and sand and footsteps in the sand and palm trees and things like that. So if you can find something that kind of connects to the setting of your book, or like I said, like a motif that comes up, if it is, your character just loves coffee or wine or whatever that is, or they have a particular scene around, in a bar, then maybe finding something like that could be useful
What
until
about,
things obviously become better in the
yeah.
diversity area.
What about the remix feature on Instagram? What is it? How can we use it? How can it help us boost our kind of visibility and our reach?
This is something I'm actually pretty excited about at the moment. It's a fairly new feature. I think it's in some places it's been out for a while, but in some places it hasn't even been rolled out yet. So it is still kind of in progress. But I recently discovered a way for authors to use it to create, I think, like the quickest reels maybe ever. So basically, the remix option lets you use somebody else's reel or parts of their reel in your reel. But it's ethical. Like Instagram gives them credit for it. It's very clear that this is what, has been, you are remixing somebody else's reel. So you're not just stealing it. You're giving them credit. So the way that I have been using these to help writers is I have created a reel, usually using some kind of celebrity meme, and then I have posted it to my account with ideas in my caption of ways that writers can personalize it, and then essentially repost it to their accounts. So they would find it on my account and then they would just tap remix. And then that would open up a new reel with the video that I created. And then they can add their own text to it. So, for example, the first one I made was using a clip from Bridgerton. And I put an image of like this stylish study behind it, like a writing space. And then I suggested text that writers could add to their own version of the video to make it really relevant to them or to their book. And a bunch of writers did that. So they just tapped remix, they added their own text to the video, and then they posted it as a reel to their own account. So it's really, really quick to do. You don't have to find your own videos. If you use them from my account, you don't even need to come up with your own concept. You just need to personalize the hook ideas that I give you. It's really fun. It's a really great way of connecting to your audience. And as I said, it is so easy, so low effort.
Is there a way that we could do that and thank readers who have like maybe posted their own reels? So let's say somebody's posted a reel that's kind of aesthetic-y and promoting maybe a quote or two from the book that they loved. how would I remix that? Because I think that would be a lovely thing to do to kind of thank and support readers who've taken the time to post something on, promoting my book. But so I'm quite a visual person. So I'm struggling to kind of I need to go and look at your Instagram to understand exactly what this remix looks like in practice. So how could I maybe remix that and sort of do double justice to thank them and kind of share their Instagram and also continue to promote the book sort of thing?
I love that idea. I may steal that idea from you. You might see that popping up on my account in the next few days, because I think that is such a great way to, like you say, both promote your own book, but thank your community for supporting you. So there are two ways to remix a reel. You can remix it, where essentially you take their reel and then you can add to it. So you can either add some text, acknowledging them. You could add a video of yourself, like in the corner, kind of reacting to their lovely words. Or you can sequence it, which essentially is like stitching. I don't know if you know that phrase, maybe from TikTok, but so it would show their reel first, and then it would cut to a video of you where maybe you could share a personal message. You could either talk to camera, kind of explain what that was about, like give them a thank you message. You could just have some text up on screen. It could be like your reaction, like how you felt when you read such awesome, lovely words, anything like that. So those are two options.
Cool. No, that helps. That's much more like TikTok. I understand that because it sounds like TikTok. Mm-hmm. I'm such a TikTok whore. It's unbelievable. But like I say, I'm trying to Instagram. I've just never been able to gain followers at the way that I have on TikTok. Like TikTok just exploded, whereas Instagram, I've never quite gotten like whatever it is. I mean, it is growing now, to be fair, a lot quicker than it has. But I do think that's because of the reels that I'm posting, or cross posting, I should say. Anyway, this is not bad.
I do love what you said though about repurposing that content. So yeah, I absolutely think that you should start with one platform, get comfortable on that, get confident on that. But once you are and you're making these reels or TikToks that are working really well for you, you kind of found your style, you've got it down so that it, there's an efficient process, then absolutely repurpose that. Don't make double work for yourself. Download it, like you said, without the watermark, and then repost it to the other platform. So, if you're on Instagram, repost it to TikTok. You've already done like the hard work anyway. So you may as well now kind of just get even more views on a different platform.
Yeah, thank you. I've got like a little card here, which is normally my task and time tracker, but all I've done is just write notes whilst you've been talking. So I'm hoping I'm hoping that loads of listeners are also writing down all their ideas as well. Okay, so I'm gutted because I think I could keep talking and picking your brains for hours, but I didn't realize we're actually running out of time. Let's just talk then. One last question before I ask you the ultimate podcast question. How can we write better hooks?
So yeah, I've used that term a lot, right? Your hook is essentially that one line that is either the first line of your caption, or it's that first text that people see on your reel that needs to get their attention. So I think there are a few things to think about. You can either make sure that it's really intriguing. So it's something that makes people think, well, what's this about? Like what? So, I mean, honestly, something as, as cheesy as like, I've got a secret. Like that's that sort of thing on that. Like it makes you just think, oh, what is it? We're all nosy, right? We want to know what that is. Or you can be like, I cannot believe this just happened to me. And it's just kind of starting the story, but sort of in the middle, if you like. So it's really kind of drawing people in. Another way to write a hook is to make it really clear who this content is for. So you can say something like, if you are XYZ, so if you are a romance reader who likes your spice levels like high, then this is for you, So if I'm that person, I'm immediately going to go, oh, that's me. I want to read this. This is for me. So those are two ways to kind of grab people's attention. But the other kind of hook that I think is so, so valuable when you are creating any type of content online, but I've seen works really well with Reels, is to have a book hook. And that is essentially a one-liner where you can it's like this really catchy comparison that you can make between your book and another, more well-known book, or even a movie or a video game. The important thing is it's this one line that sums up for a reader really, really quickly in one sentence what they can expect from your book, what it's about, what its vibe is, whether they're likely to enjoy it without you having to go.
I was just going to say, I'm going to give you two examples so I can put it into practice for listeners. So for the Game of Hearts and Heist, it's Ocean's 8 meets Six of Crows, but make it lesbian. And then for House of Crimson Hearts, it's The Vampire Diaries meets Killing Eve, except we get a HEA and it's super spicy. So like that's kind of the... like I use like comps for either TV or film, mostly because they're more accessible. So even though like when you're in traditional publishing, people often need book comps. For me, I tend to use film and TV because more people have seen them. So they're more relatable.
Yeah, I love those. And I can tell you right now, they would 100% work for me. I'm like, I need these books in my life. So yeah, they're a really quick way to like make that emotional connection. You're kind of borrowing the emotions that somebody has already attached to a particular franchise or, a TV show or characters. And you're essentially just saying, look, if you liked this for, XYZ reason, you're really going to love my book. It's like this emotional shortcut. And because they are so short and catchy, they're easy to remember. So they're easy to remember for readers, like it's going to stick in my mind, but it's also easy to remember for you so that you can just drop them into conversations, without getting tongue-tied, without rambling, because we all know that like the worst question you can ever ask a reader is like a writer is like, what is your book about?
Oh God.
Like, well, how long do you have?
I know, right? Well,
exactly. So, but when you have this really great book hook or multiple ones, like you've just said, for like different aspects of your book, you can just drop it into multiple reels in lots of different ways. So one could be about, similar characters. Another one could be about the world or the time or the place or the theme. You don't have to go into a lot of detail if you can just point to another book and say, look, just trust me, it's like that. They'll just instantly get what you're saying and, it will put your book in a really good light.
Okay, this is the Rebel Author Podcast. So tell everyone about a time you unleashed your inner rebel.
Oh gosh, Sasha, thinking about this, I feel like a little bit of a fraud on this podcast, and I really racked my brains, and I realized that I think I've been like a really low key rebel like my whole life, like so low key that probably no one's ever really noticed. Like outside my family, it made me realize that I think I have come from like this long line of like really low key, low stakes rebels. So like if you look back on any like holiday family photo album, I guarantee you will see a photo of like 6-year-old me, like feeding a llama, like right in front of a sign that says, do not feed the llamas. or like I learnt to ride my bike on a road that was very clearly marked, like private property, do not enter. I think there's even this video of me about 2 or 3 years old, and I am riding a giant tortoise. This like 100-year-old tortoise you're not even supposed to go near. And my mum has clearly just plonked me on for like a photo op. And I think I've kind of inherited that. There's really like no rule I won't break for a good photo op.
Oh my God,
I've inherited that.
You're like a cozy, like cozy mysteries and cozy fantasies, but like a cozy rebel.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I think I should put that in my bio.
Yeah, you should. That's amazing. Well, tell everyone where they can find out more about you, your services, and anything else that you'd like to add.
Well, you can find me on Instagram, obviously, at lemon.friday. So feel free to shoot me a DM there. Say hi. I would love to connect with you, especially if you have any questions about reels for authors. And if it's okay, I would love to give your readers my free book hook guide with 5 formulas for coming up with your own scroll stopping book hook that you can use to create those attention grabbing reels or any other kind of social media, really. So you can get that book hook guide. It's free by going to lemonfriday.com/hook. And if you want to try and make your own reels in the quickest and easiest way, if you want 45 reels templates, like I said, with those step-by-step instructions, including what kind of footage, images to use, what kind of audio to choose, and the exact text to put on screen and how to personalize it, I have created an exclusive 50% off discount code just for your listeners. So if you go to lemonfriday.com/reels and you use the code REBEL, obviously, you will automatically get the timeless reel content templates for authors at 50% off at the checkout.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'll make sure all of that goes in the show notes. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today. And of course, a giant thank you to all of the show's listeners and all of the show's patrons. If you would like to get early access to all of the episodes, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Sasha Black. I am Sasha Black. You were listening to Lara Ferrari, and this was the Rebel Author Podcast. Next week, I'm joined by Kate Hall, and we're going to be talking all about another form of social media, TikTok, and leveraging emotions in your marketing.
Don't forget to tune in and subscribe on your podcatcher. And when you have a moment, please leave a review.